They didn't see a kid walking into that courtroom. They saw a problem they wanted gone. Before I said a single word, before anyone checked a single page, the verdict already lived in their eyes. Guilty felt easier than curious. And that right there, that assumption, was the moment everything in my life snapped into focus. The room smelled like bleach and old paper, the kind of place where time doesn't move forward, it just circles. Judge Harold Knox sat above everyone like gravity itself, heavy. Permanent board. He glanced at me, once hoodie-cheap shoes, hands folded too neatly, and I swear I saw the decision settle behind his pupils. You know that look, the one that says, "I already know how this ends." The prosecutor smirked like he'd won a game before kickoff. My public defender leaned in and whispered that I should take the deal 3 years if I behaved maybe less with good time. His voice wasn't cruel, just tired, like he'd said those words to 100 people who looked just like me. I stood there quiet, not because I was scared, but because I was listening. Listening to the way they talked about me like I wasn't fully in the room, like I was furniture. The judge joked about taxpayer money. Someone in the gallery laughed. Yeah, that happened. And in that moment I realized something important. Nobody there expected me to fight. They expected me to fold. So when I said not guilty, it landed wrong. The laugh that followed wasn't friendly. It was sharp, almost offended, like I'd broken an unspoken rule. Judge Knox leaned forward and asked me if I understood the seriousness of the charge. He explained it slowly exaggerated like he was talking to a child. Grand theft, corporate property, a tech prototype worth more than everything I owned combined. He said it like a lesson, like I should be grateful he was explaining it at all. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't posture, I just said I didn't do it. That's when things shifted from dismissive to hostile. The prosecutor laid it on thick. Access, opportunity, motive. He said motive like poverty was a crime itself. The judge nodded along. My lawyer tugged my sleeve again harder this time. I could feel the panic coming off him in waves. He wasn't afraid for me, not really. He was afraid of wasting oxygen on a case the room had already buried. When I asked to represent myself, the judge laughed so hard he had to wipe his glasses. He called it suicidal, said he'd seen real lawyers crumble, asked how old I even was. I told him I was invoking my right. I cited the case law. That shut the room up. Not because they respected it, but because they didn't expect it. The trial moved fast after that, almost too fast, like they wanted to rush past the part where facts live. The company's CEO took the stand, first expensive suit. Perfect posture, eyes full of practiced disappointment. She talked about betrayal, about giving me a chance, about how I was just there to clean, nothing more. When she said that nothing more, it hit harder than the accusation itself, like my entire existence had been reduced to a mop and a schedule. When it was my turn, I didn't attack her. I asked questions. About temperatures, about alarms, about maintenance logs. I could see the confusion spreading slow and uncomfortable. I showed the records. I explained why I was in that room that night. Not stealing fixing. Preventing a system failure that would have cost them millions. The judge shifted in his seat. The prosecutor stopped smiling. Then I showed the insurance filing. Same prototype, same serial number, declared defective weeks before the theft. Already paid out. I remember the sound the room made, not gasps, not whispers, just a low murmur like everyone exhaled at once. Because suddenly the story didn't add up. Suddenly, I wasn't the villain, I was the inconvenience. In chambers, the tone changed completely. The judge stopped joking. He started asking questions. Careful ones. I told him what I found. The pattern, the payouts, the timing. I told him I would file a complaint if the court continued the way it started. Not as a threat, just a fact. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time, really seeing me, and I could tell he didn't like what he saw. Back in court, the officer testified about finding the evidence in my locker. Anonymous tip, hollowed-out book, clean story. I asked about fingerprints, about fibers, about timing. Then I played the footage. Security video from a hallway nobody thought to check. Time-stamped. Clear. An officer opening my locker and planting the evidence before the tip ever came in. That moment felt like a wave breaking. The officer cracked, admitted he was told to do it, said I was trouble, said he thought I was nobody. The judge dismissed the case on the spot, ordered arrests, slammed the gavel like he was trying to erase the last hour. But you can't unsee things, you can't unhear them. Outside, cameras everywhere, people shouting questions. I didn't feel victorious, I felt awake, like something long buried had finally come up for air. I said the system tried to swallow me whole and forgot that poison fights back. I walked away before they could turn it into a headline I didn't recognize. The lawsuit came next, not for revenge, for exposure. During discovery, I didn't drown in documents. I wrote software. Let it connect dots humans missed. That's when I found the payments. Shell companies, offshore accounts, ties that led somewhere nobody expected. The judge, on the payroll, clearing cases, silencing problems. When it broke hard. Executives arrested, accounts frozen. The judge suspended, then charged. Hundreds of cases reopened. People walked free who should have never been locked up in the first place. And me, the kid they laughed at, suddenly became a name they whispered. They offered me money to go away, a lot of it. Enough to disappear. I didn't take it. I took the building, the place where they tried to erase me. I turned it into a center for legal defense and tech advocacy, a place where people like me didn't have to beg to be heard. Years later, I visited the judge in prison, not to gloat, to remind him of the people he sent there, to make him see. Then I went home, ate dinner with my grandmother, the woman I cleaned floors for, the reason I never stopped studying when the lights went out. Now I stand in courtrooms as a prosecutor, not because I love power, but because I understand it, because I know how easily it gets lazy, how quickly it forgets who it's supposed to serve. They thought pressure would crush me. Turns out, pressure reveals what you're made of. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If you were in my place, would you have taken the money and walked away, or would you have stayed and fought a system that never expected you to win? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what justice looks like where you're from and whether you think the system changes from the inside or only when someone it tried to bury refuses to stay buried.